John just got home and he has exciting news. He tells Sally, read my mind.
First of all, you love my dress and you think I'm the most beautiful, seductive woman you've met all day? Just all day?
I can only concentrate on one day at a time. What else?
You wish we didn't have to go to dinner at the Burskys.
Right. What else?
And you've just gotten your first court case to try. Oh, John!
That's a big deal for a young lawyer. It's not a huge case. He's defending a little old lady accused of shoplifting. That would normally be a simple misdemeanor, but she's accused of stealing a Mickey Mouse watch worth over $200. That makes it grand larceny, a felony that could send her to prison.
I want you to read my mind.
You are very happy for me.
Yes.
You think I'm the most handsome, seductive man you've ever met.
I've ever met all day, John. Just all day. I can only concentrate on one day at a time.
Touché. But as long as it's the same person every day, that's not a problem.
You like the flowers I gave you.
Oh, honey, I love the flowers, but that's not all. Let me give you a hint.
We're going to be late for dinner with the Burskys.
Close.
We're going to be very late for dinner with the Burskys.
Closer.
We're going to cancel dinner with the Burskys.
Right.
Bursky Schmersky, they're staying home. Later, they're telling Jerry and Ann the good news. Jerry says, let's see how you're going to do it. I'm in showbiz. I can give you some pointers.
Jerry, you play the trumpet. What's that got to do with law?
It's all show business one way or another, and unfortunately, I've played to a lot of audiences of 12 or less.
Sadly, he's right. Our image-happy world is more concerned about how you look than how you do. Look at your basic presidential debate, whether primary or general. All the talk the next day is about how this or that person performed. What they said isn't as important as how they said it. Way back when I watched the first Reagan-Mondale debate, I was getting frustrated because Walter Mondale wasn't answering the questions. One of the moderators would ask him a question and he'd make a speech about something unrelated. He never actually answered a single question. The next day, the news was ablaze about how he performed so much better. This one looked blah blah and that one looked yada yada. Nothing about what was said. Given the state of American journalism from that time up to the present, it's possible those news people didn't understand all the big words. But Jerry has a point. Let's act this out and see how John's going to do it.
Hear ye. The court is now in session. Prosecution ready?
Your Honor, prosecution is ready.
Defense ready?
Defense is ready.
Hold it. Don't put your hands in your pockets. The juries hate that when guys put their hands in their pockets.
Where'd you ever get that idea?
Spencer Tracy. It's okay if you got suspenders, but only bad guys put their hands in their pockets.
Jerry says, and wear a light-colored suit. Bad guys wear dark. Good guys wear white-ish.
Defense kindly approach the bench. Good luck, Mac.
Definite objection.
On what grounds?
On the grounds that this attorney belongs to me and any judge found fooling around with him's gonna get a fat lip.
I did notice that John is kissing Ann a lot tonight. He comes home from his first day looking rather glum. I guess it's a good thing she went all out to welcome him home. Fireplace, candlelight, dinner, and you could bet she's wearing his favorite outfit under that robe, her birthday suit.
Oh, honey. You rat. You rat. Everything went great.
I was so fantastic.
You were?
I challenged 2 jurors.
Yeah?
Had 3 objections sustained. Had a dynamic opening statement.
Whoop.
I kept it short. I kept it moving.
Who'd you get that from, Jerry?
Spencer Tracy.
He's going to enjoy everything she set out for him. He says, tomorrow, why don't you and Ann come and watch? She's afraid it'll make him nervous, but he says, I'm fine. Okay. Jerry has a gig elsewhere, so he can't come watch John take his advice.
I'll tell you one piece of advice that wasn't too hard.
What?
I told him to wear a light suit. Look at this. Got a huge spot right in the lapel. It really shows. You can get it out?
Well, I'll spray it. I'll let it dry. I'll brush it off. Well, then I'll send it to the cleaners.
You'll have more time available to watch John if you skip a few of those steps. John is dominating the courtroom. Sally and Ann are having a great time watching him.
You may proceed, Mr. Everett.
Oh, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very kindly.
William Shallert became a television fixture by being Patty Duke's dad, and I'll probably always envision him in that role first. Today, he's the down-home country lawyer who doesn't know about all this highbrow city slicker stuff. He just knows that right is right and wrong is wrong, and stealing that watch was wrong.
Having observed the defendant loitering in a suspicious manner, I maintained my surveillance until she took the watch, at which time I apprehended her and she was put in custody.
Objection! Objection!
Do you have 2 objections, Mr. Burton?
Actually, Your Honor, I have 3.
And they're all sustained. The other guy is getting a little frustrated.
Still, I suppose we might suspect something from finding a watch on the floor alongside her.
Objection! Leading the witness. No one saw her put it there.
If you find burned fingers, do you have to find the matches?
You do in a court of law.
I think you better rephrase the question, Mr. Everett.
Except John is right. Every time our prosecutor tries to ask this same question, John objects to the wording. The judge has to agree and says, let's take a 20-minute recess while you educate your witness about how to do this. John is on top of the world, and so is Sally.
Gee, I certainly hope John's client appreciates the job he's doing.
Yeah, well, she better because... Annie,
What?
we've got to get out of here.
Why?
Never mind.
What's the matter?
She read the lady's mind, and not only is she guilty, Sally knows how she did it.
Yeah, well, she had a special purse with a false bottom. When she saw she was caught, she slipped the catch and the watch fell through.
You got all that with one look?
But that shows it was premeditated and everything.
Now she doesn't know what to do. Does she tell John the lady is guilty? The fact is, it doesn't matter. Under the American system, everyone has a right to their day in court, and they have a right to the best defense they can possibly get. That's why public defenders exist for people who can't afford lawyer fees. Yes, the lady is guilty. That doesn't mean you throw her to the wolves. It means whoever is defending her does the best they can to either get her acquitted or get her the lightest sentence they can. That's the job. But Sally knows John has super high ethical standards, so she's decided she has to tell him. She heads to his office, but before she can say anything, Mr. Metcalf comes in.
I just wanted to say, John, I think it's going pretty well.
Thank you, sir.
Which, of course, is better. Did I mention we're very concerned that Mr. Clark's mother not spend one single day in prison?
Yes, I believe you did mention, sir. Yes.
Mr. Clark's one of our biggest accounts.
A lawyer's first case is important, and Mr. Metcalf is hinting that John's future could be on the line. Now Sally isn't so sure. She's seeking advice from anybody she can buttonhole.
Of course, something that looks good one way, if you look at it differently, might not exactly. Do you understand?
No.
If a person knew something, and what that person knew might hurt a person that that person loved more than anything else in the world. Now, does that person have a duty to tell the person and maybe hurt them? Or not tell them and maybe hurt his or herself by not doing his or her duty? Maybe I should start again.
No, not that.
She needs to find a better buttonhole. I think this one's defective. Next day, it's time for closing statements.
Now, my learned opponent here, the big corporation lawyer, is going to tell you different.
There he goes with the suspenders.
He's probably going to say that society is to blame, or that we're all somehow guilty. We're not guilty, friends. But this little lady sure as shooting is.
Jerry is right. This guy is working the down-home country angle quite effectively.
You heard from the prosecution, my learned opponent, who's to be commended for keeping his simple country ways, especially after having lived in Beverly Hills for 35 years.
Ooh, but again, Jerry is right. It's all performance art.
We have to trust one another to see that not that he wins or that I win, but that justice does. And what is justice in this case?
Don't put your hands in your pockets.
Is it jumping to a conclusion? Is it locking away a woman who's no real threat to society? Or is it looking deep down into our hearts and asking ourselves what is the best thing for everyone concerned?
Sally can't stand it anymore. She scribbles a note and has a bailiff give it to John.
Excuse me, Your Honor.
How could he not? The jury returns a guilty verdict as we expected. Now John has to try and explain why the lady shouldn't go to prison.
I would simply like to comment on the fact that we have a case for grand larceny instead of a misdemeanor, simply because of a fad, which temporarily values an article at over $200, which was originally sold for only $5.
There was a time when a Leonardo da Vinci painting wasn't worth more than $5.
I sincerely doubt that. John wants to press the issue.
I think we can agree that the value of a Mickey Mouse watch has peaked.
Who's to say?
Not John, that's for sure. I just looked it up and there's at least one that's selling for $3,000. I didn't find any for under about $450. I think the little old lady knew what she was doing.
I would further remind Your Honor of the extenuating circumstances that I've enumerated.
If my learned opponent wanted to...
Would you stop calling me that?
If my opponent wanted to plead diminished responsibility, it does seem a little late, Your Honor.
In your words, sir, who's to say?
The judge has heard enough. She's ready to pronounce sentence.
And I sentence you to prison for 2 years. Which sentence I suspend. Placing you on probation, Mrs. Clark, with the condition that psychiatric treatment be undertaken. And the results reported to me at stipulated intervals.
Sally is devastated John lost the case. Here comes Mr. Metcalf, probably to either ream him or fire him, or both.
Good job, John. Very well done.
Thank you, sir.
I don't understand. You lost, didn't you?
Well, in a way.
In a way that served our client best.
Now I'm lost.
The goal was never to get her off. The goal was to keep her out of prison and get her the treatment she needs. That's precisely what John did.
Well, honey, Mrs. Clark has been picked up several times before.
A confirmed kleptomaniac. But the charges have always been minor. A $2 item here, $4 item there.
Fortunately, this time, without her knowing, it became grand larceny.
And she could have been sent to prison. So, our principal concern has been establishing societal priests in the value of the item and sympathy for her condition, which John did very well.
Providing your client with the best defense doesn't always mean kicking them back onto the street.
I thought if you knew she was guilty, you wouldn't be able to defend her.
Sally, a defense attorney defends, he doesn't judge.
Yeah, I said the same thing earlier, only with about 4 times as many words.
Hey, John, I really got nervous when that guy started fiddling with his suspenders.
Yeah, and that whole big corporation lawyer bit.
But really, John, for a guy breaking in a brand new act, you did real good.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations, Counselor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Everett.
First time out hunting, you hold a mighty steady gun.
Yeah. Court's out, Sam. You can talk rich again.
All right. It's a very good boy you got there, Owen. I never did know what he had on his leg.
As I said, performance art. I've only ever been involved in one trial, actually a lawsuit, and I was the defendant. Fortunately, an insurance company was picking up the tab, so I had an incredible lawyer. And even he was into performance. No jewelry. I couldn't even wear a tie clip, and neither did he. He also had a thing about having teachers on juries because they had a tendency to overthink things. Some of his stuff bordered on superstition. But he not only won, he turned the other lawyer inside out. John didn't exactly do that, but he performed well enough that Mr. Metcalf is all smiles. In fact, he recommended John for a daytime Emmy. John said he'd rather have a nice raise. Metcalf said he'd have to put some thought into that. Priorities, you know.